Hello, my name's Judy Bone. I wonder if you've seen the video that actually went viral of the man called David Abel, who was in hospital in Japan with coronavirus. Had come off a cruise ship and was taken into hospital. And he was desperate not to be put on a respirator. And his oxygen levels were such that he was very close to having no choice. But he decided he wanted to do something about it for himself. And some years ago, and he didn't go into any detail about this, but some years earlier, he had used EFT. And he remembered a particular EFT exercise for expanding lung capacity, which he used in this hospital. And it was successful for him. He didn't have to go on the respirator. He managed within 24 to 48 hours to get his lung function much better than it was, enough to convince the doctors that he was no longer a candidate for a respirator. So I just want to tell you what the exercise he was using was, because obviously it's going to be useful to a lot of people at the moment. EFT isn't a cure for coronavirus. I'm not saying that. I'm saying EFT can help with some of the symptoms, and particularly that symptom of lung function, which of course is one of the things that coronavirus attacks. So this is the exercise. Take a really deep breath, as much of a breath as you can. It's probably better to do it standing rather than sitting as I am. And just notice when you do how full a breath you get. Now, if you imagine that 10 is that it was as big as you could possibly want, there was no restriction, you were able to get all the air you wanted, then on a scale of 1 to 10, with that being 10, where would you say yours went to? 7? 6? 8? When you've done that, also make a note of what the restriction felt like. Did it feel as if your ribs wouldn't open wide enough? Did it feel as if you hit a brick wall? Just describe to yourself what the sensation of not being able to take a completely full breath was. So then you've got a setup phrase for EFT that describes what you felt. So even though I felt as if my breath hit a brick wall, or even though I felt my ribs were squeezing my lungs, just whatever is true for you. And it doesn't matter about anatomical truth. This is about the sensation. And, we do in our breath hold a lot of our emotions. It's not just about lung function. It's about, we hold anxiety there. We hold our fears there. So, okay, now I want you to tap on whatever you would say, like even though, etc., about your own experience. And remember, you don't have to tap on your face if you don't want to. If you're going to tap on your face, and I still do, then you really need to have some very good hand hygiene before you start. But if you're not in a place where you can, or you don't feel comfortable to, there are other points you can use. So make up your own sequence out using those words that you've devised for yourself, and using whatever points you're comfortable using. So, we've got the top of the head covers half the meridians in the body all by itself. So that's a really good start. Then you've got the collarbone point, junction of the first rib, the breastbone and the collarbone. You've got the underarm point, and then you've got all the hand points, but across the base of the fingernail, side of the fingers. You can leave that one in if you want, but it's not relevant. Then you've got the side of the hand point, a great point that. Then you've got the gamut point. So just make a sequence that suits you. It doesn't have to be very polished. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be either side. Just do what feels right for you. Any tapping is better than no tapping. And it's much better to have a go and do what intuitively feels right, which may well be more relevant for you than anything anyone else would devise anyway. So a round of whatever points you choose, and then try another breath and see if it's improved. So it may be that now you would want to rephrase it as, even though I still have some of this restriction, or however you're describing it, or even though it still feels as if it might, or even though it now feels as if it might be a quite different feeling of restriction. And if you don't feel your breath is yet 10 out of 10, do another round of whatever you feel would be good for you. So even though I still have some of this restriction, or even though it feels now as if my ribs are squeezing in a different way, just whatever's relevant for you. And then go around whatever points you're comfortable using. I would always recommend including the top of the head because you've got half the meridians in one hip then anyway. And then, as I say, you've got these other options under the arm, side of the hand, finger points, finger point, finger point, finger point, thumb point, missed that, gamut point. And just repeat that a few times if you need until you get to the stage where you'll feel you're having a really good breath. And that can help deal with the sort of anxiety that we may hold in our lungs, even if we're not affected or infected, or it can help to deal with the symptoms. Stay well. We'll come out the other side of this.